Welcome to our channel. In today's video, titled "The States Where Black People Face the Most Challenges," we'll focus on issues like income, housing, and social disparities. Did you know that in some parts of the US, Black Americans are over 5 times more likely to be put in jail than white Americans? Or that in some states, the income gap between Black and white households is so big that it could take decades to close, even if everything improved right away? These aren't just numbers. They reflect real struggles that affect where people live, how safe they feel, and whether they can achieve their dreams. This video takes a close look at the states with the biggest racial gaps, from economic struggles to unfair housing practices and social inequality. I'm not here to sugarcoat things, but I want to make it clear that these problems are not impossible to fix. They are the result of long-standing systems that need to change. So, take a seat and stay with us as we explore the states where racial inequality is most serious. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you won't miss any of our future videos. Number 10, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, especially cities like Pittsburgh, show some of the most obvious racial inequalities affecting Black communities. The state has a population of over 13 million, with about 12% of that being Black. Despite this, Black residents face serious challenges in areas like employment, income, and health. According to Bloomberg, Pittsburgh, a city known for its industry and culture, has a significant gap in income equality for Black residents. On average, Black households in Pittsburgh earn about $28,000 per year, while white households make $53,000 annually. This gap is a clear example of economic inequality, even in one of the state's most well-known cities. The job market in Pennsylvania reflects similar disparities. Black residents in the state have an unemployment rate that is more than twice as high as that of white residents. In addition, Black professionals are often not well represented in high-paying industries such as technology and finance, limiting their chances for upward mobility and long-term economic stability. Health outcomes for Black residents are also troubling. Studies show that Black people in Pennsylvania suffer from higher rates of chronic diseases, such as diabetes and hypertension, and they often have less access to quality health care. Some communities even have life expectancies nearly 10 years shorter than those in predominantly white neighborhoods. This highlights the ongoing health disparities and lack of access to the necessary medical care in many Black communities. So, if you're looking at the states where Black Americans face the most challenges, Pennsylvania's data speaks volumes. How can such glaring inequalities still exist in 2024? It's not just about numbers. These are real lives affected by deep-rooted systemic inequality. Understanding these issues is the first step in making changes and improving the future for Black communities. Number 9, Kansas, known for its open plains and quiet towns, hides a harsher reality when it comes to racial inequalities in housing and income. With a population of about 3 million, around 6% of Kansans are Black, but their economic opportunities are far from equal. According to 24/7 Wallstay, Black residents face significant challenges in homeownership and income, which create barriers to financial stability and building generational wealth. Homeownership, a key way to build wealth in America, is a serious challenge for Black families in Kansas. Only about 32% of Black households own their homes, compared to 72% of white households. This means less than half as many Black families have access to stable housing and the financial benefits that come with home ownership. This gap limits security and opportunities for Black residents across the state. The income gap is just as troubling. Black households in Kansas earn a median income of about $35,000 a year, while white households earn around $60,000. This $25,000 difference impacts everything from daily living standards to access to better schools, healthcare, and opportunities to save or invest. These disparities raise important questions. How can communities grow and thrive when such large gaps exist? Kansas, despite its potential, struggles with these inequalities, making it one of the states where Black people face the greatest challenges. These aren't just numbers, they're real barriers that prevent Kansas from being an equal place for everyone. Number 8, Michigan. Michigan, with a population of about 10 million, has long faced racial disparities that continue to affect its black residents, who make up about 14% of the population. Despite Michigan's rich history and cultural landmarks, the economic and social realities for black communities tell a very different story. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the median household income for black residents is around $35,000, while white households earn about $63,000, almost double the amount. This income gap affects many aspects of life, such as housing, education, and healthcare. When it comes to home ownership, only about 40% of black residents in Michigan own their homes, compared to nearly 76% of white residents. This highlights a big difference in housing stability and opportunities for wealth building. The unemployment rate for black residents is around 10%, more than double the rate for white residents, making it harder for black families to achieve economic security. This also contributes to a poverty rate of about 30% among black Michiganders, compared to just 10% for white residents. These disparities don't end there. Michigan also struggles with high incarceration rates, which make it even harder for black communities to advance economically and socially. Cities like Detroit, once a thriving center for America's automotive industry, have faced significant economic decline, which has hit black residents the hardest. This has led to fewer job opportunities and increased financial struggles for many. Given these challenges, it's clear why Michigan ranks among the states where black people face the most difficulties. Despite its potential, the state still struggles with inequalities that affect the daily lives and future prospects of black residents. How can a state with so much promise continue to face such significant racial disparities? Number 7, Nebraska. Nebraska, known for its wide-open plains and friendly Midwestern atmosphere, has a population of about 2 million, with black residents making up around 5% of that number. While the state has much to offer, the reality for black Nebraskans can be tough. Economic and housing inequalities create challenges that affect daily life, making Nebraska a place where black people face significant obstacles. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the median household income for black residents in Nebraska is about $33,000, while white households earn around $63,000. This big difference in income affects many aspects of life, such as access to better neighborhoods, education, and overall financial stability. When it comes to home ownership, the gap is even clearer. Only about 32% of black residents own their homes, compared to nearly 72% of white residents. This difference makes it harder for black families to build wealth and secure stable living conditions. The job market in Nebraska also shows a concerning trend. Black residents face an unemployment rate of nearly 9%, which is more than double the rate for white residents. This unemployment gap limits earning potential and contributes to a higher poverty rate of about 25% for black Nebraskans, compared to just 8% for white residents. In addition to these economic struggles, high incarceration rates among black residents make these issues even more complicated. The combination of these factors creates a cycle that is hard to break, making it difficult for many black Nebraskans to achieve upward mobility and long-term success. Despite Nebraska's reputation for being a welcoming place, these deep-rooted inequalities raise serious questions about fairness and opportunity. If you're watching this video, stick around to learn about other states where racial inequality is a major issue. The goal isn't just to raise awareness, but to inspire change for a more equal future for all. Number 6, Missouri. Missouri, known for the famous Gateway Arch and its lively music scenes, also faces serious challenges for black residents. With a population of around 6 million, black Missourians make up about 12% of the state's population. While Missouri is a state full of charm, it's tough for black communities to find equal opportunities due to the long history of racial inequalities. In this video, we'll take a closer look at the issues of income, housing, and employment that black residents face in Missouri. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the median household income for black residents in Missouri is about $36,000, which is much lower than the $60,000 median income for white households. This income gap affects many aspects of life, including access to quality healthcare, education, and financial security. Housing is another area where inequalities are clear. While around 70% of white Missourians own homes, only 37% of black residents can say the same. This shows a big difference in housing opportunities and wealth building for Black families compared to white families. Job security is also a challenge for Black Missourians. The unemployment rate for Black residents is around 9%, nearly double the rate for white residents. This higher unemployment contributes to a much higher poverty rate for Black Missourians. About 25% live in poverty compared to just 9% of white residents. Missouri, especially St. Louis, has a history of racial tensions that continue to affect housing, jobs, and education for Black residents. This history leaves a lasting impact on opportunities for economic stability and social advancement. On top of these challenges, Black Missourians also face a high incarceration rate, which further complicates the path to success and equality. Given these disparities, it's clear why many Black Americans may find Missouri a less welcoming place. The state has a lot of potential, but the ongoing inequalities make it difficult for Black residents to fully thrive. What do you think about these issues? Do you believe enough is being done to address racial inequality in the U.S.? Drop a comment below to share your thoughts, and let's start a conversation. If you find this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on similar topics. Number 5, Connecticut. Connecticut, famous for its beautiful coastlines and prestigious universities, hides some serious economic and social inequalities that affect its Black residents. The state has a population of about 3.6 million, and Black residents make up around 10% of that. In this video, we'll take a look at how racial inequality in income, home ownership, and employment affects the daily lives of Black residents in Connecticut. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the median household income for Black residents in Connecticut is about $47,000. In comparison, white households in the state earn a median income of around $88,000, which is nearly double. This large income gap highlights the challenges Black residents face when it comes to finding well-paying jobs and building financial stability. When it comes to home ownership, the divide is even wider. Only about 31% of Black residents own homes, compared to nearly 75% of white residents. This difference shows just how hard it is for Black families to achieve housing stability and build wealth over time. The unemployment rate for Black residents in Connecticut is around 10%, almost twice as high as the rate for white residents. This disparity further impacts the ability of Black families to achieve long-term economic stability. Additionally, about 20% of Black residents in Connecticut live below the poverty line, compared to just 6% of white residents. How is it possible for a state with some of the wealthiest communities in the country to have such a big gap in economic outcomes? Connecticut's sharp contrast between rich neighborhoods and areas facing economic challenges explains why the state can be difficult for Black residents. As we continue with the list of states, think about how a state known for prosperity can do better to help all of its residents succeed. Stay with us to see how other states compare and why real change is necessary. Number 4, South Dakota. South Dakota, famous for Mount Rushmore and its vast prairies, has a population of about 900,000, with Black residents making up about 2% of that total. Although a small group, South Dakota's Black community faces serious economic challenges, making it one of the more difficult states for Black Americans to live in. In this video, we explore how income, housing, and employment gaps affect the Black population in the state. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the median household income for Black residents in South Dakota is around $30,000, much lower than the $63,000 median income for white households. This significant gap affects access to better neighborhoods, schools, and long-term financial security. When it comes to home ownership, the divide is even larger. Only about 25% of Black residents own homes, compared to nearly 70% of white residents. This difference highlights the barriers to housing stability and wealth building for Black families in the state. Employment is another challenge, with Black residents facing an unemployment rate of about 12%, more than double that of white residents. Limited job opportunities contribute to the high poverty rate among Black South Dakotans, with nearly 30% living in poverty compared to only 10% of white residents. These statistics show a reality that doesn't match South Dakota's image of wide open spaces and opportunity. Despite having plenty of room for growth, the state struggles to support economic equality for all its residents. As we continue to explore other states, it's clear that these challenges need to be addressed for a more fair and equal future for everyone. Number 3, Minnesota. Minnesota, known for its 10,000 lakes and the vibrant Twin Cities, also faces some of the largest racial disparities in the U.S., with Black residents experiencing disproportionate challenges. The state's population is about 5.7 million, and Black residents make up around 7%. However, they face significant economic and social difficulties. In this video, we look at how inequalities in income, housing, and education affect Black Minnesotans. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the median household income for Black families in Minnesota is around $38,000, while white households earn a median income of about $76,000, double that of Black families. This income gap makes it harder for Black residents to build financial security and invest in long-term assets, like homes. In fact, Minnesota has one of the largest gaps in home ownership in the country, with only about 25% of Black residents owning homes, compared to nearly 75% of white residents. This threefold difference shows the barriers to achieving housing equality and wealth. Education is another area where gaps are significant. Black Minnesotans are less likely to hold a college degree, and graduation rates are much lower compared to their white counterparts. This limited access to higher education limits career opportunities, making it harder to close the income gap. Given these disparities, you may wonder how a state with such progressive values can still struggle with equality. Minnesota, with its cultural richness and growing economy, offers opportunities, but also faces challenges for Black residents due to these ongoing inequalities. The state has much potential, but addressing these gaps is key to ensuring equal opportunity for all its residents. Number 2, Iowa. Iowa, known for its scenic farmland and friendly communities, also has some of the biggest racial disparities in the U.S. Black residents, who make up about 4% of Iowa's 3.2 million population, face many economic and social challenges, especially in places like Waterloo. In this video, we take a closer look at the issues Black Iowans face, from homeownership struggles to education gaps. When it comes to homeownership, the gap is huge. Only around 23% of Black residents in Iowa own their homes, while nearly 74% of white residents are homeowners. This isn't just a small difference, it's a large divide. This makes it much harder for Black families to build financial stability and pass down wealth to future generations. Income inequality is also a major issue. The median household income for Black residents in Iowa is about $31,000, compared to nearly $60,000 for white households. That's almost half the income. Education doesn't offer much of a way out either. High school graduation rates and college attainment are much lower for Black residents, limiting their job opportunities and keeping the income gap wide. Another serious issue is the high incarceration rate for Black residents in Iowa. The Black incarceration rate is over 7 times higher than that of white residents, a shocking statistic for a state this size. With these figures in mind, it's important to ask, how can a state that prides itself on community leave so many behind? While Iowa may seem welcoming on the outside, these realities tell a different story for Black residents. As we explore these challenges, it's important to ask how these systemic barriers came to be, and more importantly, what can be done to create a state where everyone has an equal opportunity. Keep watching to find out what other states are on this list. Number 1, Wisconsin. Wisconsin, known for its cheese, lakes, and football, surprisingly ranks as one of the most challenging states for Black Americans. While it may seem like a friendly place with small-town charm, the reality for Black residents, especially in cities like Milwaukee, is much different. In this video, we explore the issues making Wisconsin tough for Black people. One of the biggest challenges is the income gap. Black households in Wisconsin earn a median income of about $32,000, while white households make nearly double, at around $63,000. This significant difference limits economic opportunities for many Black families and makes it harder for them to build financial security. Home ownership is another major issue. Only about 25% of Black residents in Wisconsin own their homes, compared to 72% of white residents. This gap makes it much harder for Black families to achieve wealth through property ownership, often making the American dream feel out of reach. Milwaukee, the largest city in the state, has some of the highest Black incarceration rates in the country. Black residents in Milwaukee are incarcerated at a rate nearly 12 times higher than white residents. This statistic reflects deeper issues, such as housing segregation and unequal access to education and jobs. Milwaukee is often listed as one of the worst cities for Black Americans due to these challenges. So, how can a state that prides itself on Midwestern values still face such severe racial inequalities? Wisconsin's racial disparities are hard to ignore, which is why it is an important state to highlight in our list. Thank you for watching this look into the states where Black Americans face the biggest challenges. These issues are more than just numbers. They reflect deep, ongoing problems. Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more future videos.